What Mueller, I think, is doing, and I think it's very important, and I don't want to. It's a perfectly valid approach, and there's lots of different ways to do social science research. And what he's doing is basically presenting us with a nice empirical puzzle. I think that he says we know from just the literature and we know from contemporary events that people take terrorism very seriously. But a question is, why do they do that? If we really try to examine what terrorism does and what terrorists want and what they're trying to achieve, should we really be doing that? And so there is sort of this puzzle that's presented to us by Mueller. I don't think he quite answers the question as to why leaders do that. But he does say, look, most terrorists have sort of limited aims. A lot of them really don't know what they're doing. A lot of them are just trying to incite fear, and we always play into that. Why do we do that? Now, where someone like me would come in, where my method is to sort of ask these puzzles, sort of think about these puzzles, and then to build a logical model, just a sort of play model of the real world, which is designed to capture through formal logic what the causal processes behind these things are. So I would take a puzzle like Mueller is proposing, which is why do leaders do that? And I would build a game theoretic model, which is supposed to capture the strategic interaction between different entities. And from that model, I could then establish a leader has an incentive to play up the threat of terrorism under these conditions. A leader has an incentive not to play up the threat of terrorism under other conditions. And then I could then establish empirical hypotheses that allow me to then test those propositions on real-world data. And I use the large-N statistical approach where I collect as much data as I possibly can, and I then do statistical analysis to see if the hypotheses that are derived from the game theoretic model match the real world. And if they don't, then I can go back and think, where's my model going wrong? Where can I possibly alter things? What am I missing? What components are not there that might be explaining what's happening in the real world? If it does, then I can say I have one explanation of what's going on in the real world. I can then look to others to see if they're better, if they're simpler, if they're more comprehensive, and I can keep building on that. So my approach is to use game theory and then combine it with large-N statistical tests.